everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be going over my 28 weeks of pregnancy update. This is my first pregnancy update video, so it's going to be a long one because there are things from, like, just to give you context for everything, there's going to be some information about my early pregnancy, my life even before becoming pregnant, and all of that stuff. I do have notes on my phone to keep me as organized as possible during this video, so if you see me looking down like how you just saw, that's why. I don't want to miss anything and I want everything to make sense. If you're also pregnant, or if you're around the same time as me and you just want to see what we have in common and what's different, that's what this video is for, so I hope you enjoy it. I will be drinking a little bit of my Pellegrino. This was a leftover from my baby shower, which was this past weekend. I wouldn't normally have so many tiny bottles of this lying around, but now I do, so it's a nice treat. And it's helping because I am at the stage where I'm getting out of breath, even not doing a lot. But I think I'll get more into that when I talk about some of the physical changes that I've been experiencing. First, I want to talk about the mental and emotional stuff that I've been going through up until this stage of my pregnancy. So for the past 7 or so years, I've been a self-employed small business owner. I offer marketing services to different clients in different industries, mostly people who sell stuff online, be it books, physical products, coaching services, any of that stuff. I will write the sales copy for them, and I have a team of designers and developers who create their websites, their sales funnels, and handle all of that stuff for my clients. So in doing that for the past 7 years, I've always been very independent. I've never had to rely on a job or a man to help take care of me and support me. When I became pregnant, especially my first trimester, I was very, very tired, all of the time. I had never felt so physically exhausted in my life. It felt like I had always just finished a really intense workout, but I never did. I was, not moving too much during the day, yet I was still so tired. So I let go of a handful of my clients, and the financial burden of our lives really started to rest more on my fiance. And I found myself there was one day where I cried 3 times over the course of that day. Not full on meltdown crying, but sitting at my desk, trying to experiment with some different types of work, trying to figure out what I want to do next that is maybe more automated than providing a service. And I just found myself crying with frustration and I'm very fortunate, I should say I'm very fortunate to have had the career that I have had, to have had enough money saved away that I was able to scale back my work. Very fortunate and grateful for that. But my fiance and I, we have big goals, big dreams, big plans, and I know how much me generating revenue can help us achieve those goals and dreams even faster. So even though we're totally okay financially, we're more than okay, we're again very, very fortunate, just feeling that pressure and feeling for the first time that I'm not 100% in charge and 100% independent in my finances was really taking an emotional toll on me. So what helped me through that was finally communicating exactly how I felt with my fiance. He and I have been together for 6 years, and during that time, of course, there are ups and downs, and one thing we have learned that has helped our relationship so much is just honest communication without letting our own insecurities or fears or whatever it may be muddy up what the other person is saying, just listening to what the other person is saying and accepting it with a full and loving heart. So, I told him how I was feeling, how this was the first time in my life where I'm kind of letting go of the reins a little bit, and it's at a time where I'm having a baby. So, on the one hand, I was feeling like I should be working harder than ever, and here I am working less hard because I'm so tired and mentally drained. And, of course, he completely understood where I was coming from. He always knew how important my career was to me, and he just let me know how much he supported me and how much he was like, babe, if you let me work, like the long hours when I need to, everything is going to be fine. He's obviously more than happy to support us, me and the baby. And even though like that's not going to happen, I'm always going to be working and have a source of income that's my own. I was able to relax a little bit from that, and just having that open and honest communication, and knowing that we have the expectations set of each other. We each know where the other person is at. So I just can't emphasize enough to, be communicative with your partner and remind them that, you have hormones that are really intense, really raging right now. And sometimes I don't like to give those hormones a lot of credit. And it's like abstract, right? To understand how they're working. Like there's really a chemical going through my body that's making my brain think differently than normal. Like, it's crazy. You get worried that you're weak mentally or something. And, it could just be a lot. But even though it is abstract and it might be hard to really fully grasp, your partner is gonna understand where you're coming from. Say, I understand I'm having a lot of emotions, my hormones are, really affecting my emotions, but this is just how I'm feeling. This is what I want to, communicate to you. And if you need to ask for anything, say, this is what I have to ask of you, and use direct language. Don't skirt around the point, and, don't worry, you really have to communicate your needs. So that's something that helped me out a lot. I feel like it's dark. I'm really sorry if it's shadowy and dark in this video. I don't have professional lights or anything like that. I just wanted to come on and film this heart to heart with you guys. So going along with the finances stuff, I really found myself having nothing dramatic, but kind of questioning my identity when I first became pregnant. I'm very much like a laid back, type B, go with the flow personality. I love to have fun. I love to, drink great cocktails, a lot of them with my friends. I love going out to fantastic meals and just having a lot of fun and going with the flow. So when I first became pregnant and I found myself kind of worrying so much all of a sudden about so many things, I'm like, who am I? Am I ever going to be the same laid back, fun loving person? Am I going to become uptight? Am I going to be an overprotective mom? And then you're worrying about the fact that you're worrying, and it just stacks up and it becomes too much. So what really helped me kind of get over that phase was realizing that my questions about my identity were completely and 100% normal. It is so normal to, change and to wonder how you're going to continue to change when you become pregnant, because it's obviously a really huge life-changing thing. So instead of piling that extra layer on and worrying about the fact that you're worrying, which is only going to make you more uptight, just remember that everything you're feeling is completely normal. On top of that, especially earlier on in my pregnancy when you don't feel the baby yet you're already kind of making all these changes to your lifestyle and you're mentally preparing. Some days, for me, I didn't always feel super attached. I felt like everything was very abstract and I didn't know what was going on basically. But again, rather than layering worry on top of that, I just reminded myself, and of course I've read a lot of books and a lot of the forums, that some days you're really attached, some days you're not. And that can last all the way through the pregnancy. That can last even after the baby is born, for years after the baby is born. And that's okay. That's, again, the most important thing. Instead of throwing that extra layer of worry on top, just process how you're feeling, accept how you're feeling, and then remind yourself that, you know, I'm not feeling super attached today, and that's completely fine. I don't want to, because I haven't been clinically diagnosed with anything like anxiety or depression, I don't want to use those terms because I know that they're very serious and very important, so I wouldn't use them lightly to describe myself or my situation at any point in my life. I do know that within my family there are struggles with anxiety and depression, and I know that I have the potential to feel depressed and or anxious. So what I'm planning to do, and what I think is a really good idea over the next couple of weeks, even before the baby is born, is to start seeing a therapist. You know, you can have whatever opinions you want of therapy, that's completely fine. I saw a therapist once several years ago when I was much younger, and that therapist just wasn't a great match for me, which is also fine. But I think it's smart to already be in the habit of just going to therapy just to talk to somebody, if nothing else. Because if, you know, you face postpartum depression or any sort of more intense issues postpartum, it's going to be much harder for you to start going to therapy. So I read somewhere, I can't remember where, I've read so many forums and stuff at this point, so many websites, so many blogs, but I did read somewhere that you know, this person made the decision to start going early because she knew how much harder it would be if she started to feel really depressed or anxious or, you know, any of those emotions that it's really important to get help with. So I thought that was a great idea. I thought that was super smart. So I am going to start doing that within the next couple of weeks. And let me catch my breath. Now I will talk a little bit about my weight and what's been going on with my weight up until this point of my pregnancy. Again, just as a reminder, I'm just finishing up my 28th week of pregnancy. So for up until 4 to 5 weeks, I had gained very little weight. In fact, up until 20 weeks, I had gained no weight at all, none. And even though like I saw my belly kind of getting bigger, and I'm gonna show my bump at the end of this video, I wasn't putting up any pounds on the scale. And I did, which is hilarious in a way, because it's the first time in my life when I'm not gaining any weight, and you know, and I'm trying to gain weight once, you know, I'm especially hitting the 20-week mark, and I believe the average weight gain at that point is between 10 and 12 pounds, and I had gained nothing. That's when I started, you know, tabbing milkshakes and an extra protein shake per day, eating extra fruits, like, you know, a few extra carbs, kind of doing whatever I can to finally put on some weight. So, and it's funny because I'm not somebody who, that's never happened to me before in my life. Like, I feel like before pregnancy, I could put on weight, you know, no problem. So it was always, I had to always watch, you know, and prevent myself from putting on weight. And then for the first time, I'm trying to put on weight and it's not happening. So I was getting frustrated with that. But I did speak to my doctor about it during around the 20-week mark, and one of the doctors at the practice that I go to, she explained to me that the weight will come, not to worry, as long as like my vitals looked good, I was keeping hydrated, you know, everything would be fine. The baby was, you know, perfectly on track size, and I had nothing to worry about. So from weeks 20 up until 28, I have finally been putting on weight. And so far, I have put on, I would say, about 15 pounds. I started my pregnancy at, really actually now I might be closer to 18 pounds, because I started my pregnancy right around the 160 pound mark. I am 5'8", and I'm naturally like bone dense and muscular, like not in a ripped way, but I've always carried my weight pretty well. Like a lot of people would be surprised to know that I weighed as much as 160 pounds, because I would still fit into like a size 6, you know, whatever. That's just my body composition. So Now this morning, I just weighed in at 177 pounds. So at 28 weeks, put on 17 pounds. So I think I'm on pretty good track with that. Now what's funny is when I went to my doctor for my 27-week appointment last week, I guess I had put on 7 pounds within that 1 month. From 23 to 27 weeks, I put on 7 pounds. And then he tells me, this is a different doctor because you see whoever's available. It's a practice of two doctors, a doctor and a nurse practitioner. So I saw the nurse practitioner. She was the one who told me everything was normal. And then I see my actual doctor for this appointment, and he tells me I put on 7 pounds, you know, like that. Normally women only gain 4 to 5 pounds for that month. So I was a little bit over, but it's nothing to get crazed or worried about, because 2 pounds, it could be the scale, it could just be that moment of the day. Your weight fluctuates a lot, especially with water weight. So not to worry about it, but to decrease the carbs, my carb intake a little bit, because putting on 7 pounds in 1 month was a lot. So, you know, you try to do everything right, but I just thought it was kind of funny that here I was for so long, really making an effort to finally putting on the weight, and then I put on some of the weight, and then he tells me to scale it back. But, you know, it is what it is. I've been eating pretty flexibly. I don't want to say I eat whatever I want, but it is kind of close to whatever I want. But a lot of the time, I'm craving like nutrient-dense vegetables and fruit. That's just what my body's craving. So it's good when I'm craving that, because obviously I eat that and it's healthy. But I do also love me like a cheeseburger or a slice of pizza. The milkshakes, when I was having the milkshakes more regularly, which I've stopped now that I put on 7 pounds in a month, you know, I was really enjoying the milkshakes. So that has kind of been the story with my weight so far in this pregnancy. I haven't said yet, but I should. It might be obvious. I'm a first-time mom, so all of this stuff is very new to me, and I know every experience is wildly different, but this is just how it's going for me so far. While on the topic of doctors, I do want to talk a little bit about my doctor and insurance experience. I was going to call it a fiasco, but it hasn't been so bad. I don't think it's to call it a fiasco, so I'm going to scale back and I'll just call it experience so far. So being a self-employed person, I have to purchase my health insurance from the exchange. And before I was pregnant, I didn't even have health insurance. I have to be honest with you. You know, I'm a healthy young woman, and purchasing my own health insurance through the exchange, I would have had no problem paying like a couple $100 a month for my own health insurance before I was pregnant, you know, just to have it just in case, because I do understand how important health insurance is. However, the plans that were offered to me were very expensive, and they came not only with high monthly premiums, but with very high deductibles, to the point where if I'm seeing a doctor, I would have to pay out thousands and thousands of dollars, many thousands, sometimes up to $10,000 before the insurance would even kick in. So for me, before being pregnant, that was just not worth it. I would pay the penalty, which ended up being for me last year like $150. So comparatively, you know, $150 is nothing compared to what I would have had to pay for the insurance that I wouldn't really use, because my preference is not to go to a doctor if I don't have to. Again, this is all before I got pregnant. You know, obviously my priorities changed once I became pregnant. So I did decide to, obviously, first thing, enroll in health insurance as soon as I found out I was pregnant, the day of. Becoming pregnant does qualify as a life-changing event, so that you can purchase health insurance at any time, even if the open enrollment period is closed. So I was able to pick a health insurance plan, and I'll just tell you, you know, what it is. It's Health First. I live in New York, and I think Health First like operates out of New York. And I picked one of their, the names are so silly. It's like Platinum Leaf plans. And it's supposed to be like one of the Cadillacs of health insurance. It's supposed to be a really good health insurance plan with that low deductible, so I don't have to pay out $10,000 in medical bills before the insurance kicks in. I think it's already, it has already kicked in. So my health insurance premium is $657 per month. That's what I pay. And for overall, for the level of care that I've been getting, I've been very happy with it. And for the most part, when I have to call Health First for any questions or problems, their phone support has been very good. But the one it's a big issue is the thing that has left a bad taste in my mouth and has really irritated me about Health First. And in general, I don't like the concept of insurance. I think it's, let's just say, like, the insurance business model is fantastic for the insurance company, and it's not so good for the customer, the end user, who really needs insurance, you know, for their life, literally. But I will try to refrain from sharing my thoughts on the scam, quote unquote. I know it's whatever. You might not call it a scam, of insurance companies. Anyway, here's what happened. I set my Health First premium, the $650 a month, to auto payment. So I don't have to worry about it. You know, it's the 21st century, it's whatever century it is where you should, you know, set up an auto payment and it should be okay. And my auto payment is on my business credit card, which can have a lot of transactions going through it per month. So I am not monitoring at each and every single transaction per month. That would, first of all, it would just be too much. So it turns out that for the month of September, the Health First website had a technical glitch, and they did not accept it. They didn't process any auto payments for anybody who was set up on auto pay. I missed that. So I'm going to acknowledge right here and right now that the one thing I could have done to help this situation was to be vigilant and checking that they're taking my payment each and every month. Okay, I could have done that, but I didn't, because I figured that's the point of auto payment, right? So the day before my 28-week, actually the day of my 28-week sugar test, which luckily came back normal, I was very happy about that, I see the confirmation email that says your October premium has been paid. So I'm like, great, the insurance is up to date, everything is fine, let me go take the sugar test. I go to take the sugar test, and the very kind lady at the hospital where I took the test, the lab within the hospital, says to me, oh, your insurance says you're an inactive member. And I'm like, well, no, that can't possibly be true because they just took my premium payment this morning. Everything should be fine. So she processed me as if I had the insurance, which was very nice. And in the meantime, I called the insurance company. First of all, the woman who I spoke to this time when I called the insurance company was impatient. She was rude and unprofessional. She interrupted me while I was speaking, and she was not helpful at all. She at first told me that the reason my coverage stopped was because of an issue back in 2014, which for me not having insurance in 2014 or something like that. That didn't turn out to be the case at all. I don't know where she was pulling that information from, but it was not the reason. The reason was, which I had to find out through further digging, like I had to tell her that really doesn't seem right to me because the insurance has been working just fine up until this point. Why would an issue in 2014 stop it? And then why would you take a payment from me this morning if I don't have coverage? So if I had just taken what she said at face value, I might still be trying to fight some phantom issue from 2014. So that's another thing I really want to tell you guys. Sometimes when you're dealing with doctors and insurance companies, it's a little bit of a battle, and you cannot just take what they say at face value. If you know that something is a certain way, you have to stick with it, and you have to be obstinate, and you can keep demanding to speak to a supervisor of a supervisor of a supervisor until somebody is listening to you the way that you need to be listened to. So she finally dug down to the issue of the missing September payment, okay? And then she put in a request for them to reinstate my coverage, noting that I was 28 weeks pregnant. I was getting very distressed. Like you don't need that surge of the stress hormone going through your body, you know, when you're pregnant for, you know, no necessary reason at all. So, and that's what happened. Obviously, I became very stressed when I found out that my coverage had stopped. I just had to take a pause, so let me catch up to where I was. Oh, she put in a request for them to reinstate my coverage, noting that I was pregnant, that every other payment had been made on time, and that was on a Wednesday? No, that was on a Monday. That was on a Monday, and then she told me to call back Friday. I should note that I also asked, can I please speak to somebody in the finance department, because they were the ones who were going to make the decision if they would reinstate me. And she said, no, the finance department doesn't get on the phone. So it's like, oh yeah, of course, you can't talk to the guys who actually make the decision. Great. I called back on Friday, and I spoke to a gentleman who was much better at his job than that lady was. He pulled up my case, and he saw that they had denied the request to reinstate my coverage. And at this point, I was just shocked. I was like, how could that be? You know, I'm here, I'm trying to do whatever needs to be done in order to fix this. I'm pregnant. How could you guys do this to me? For your mistakes. I should also note that they did not send any email. They did not send me a phone call. They did not notify me about their automated payment system not working for the month of September. So, you know, yes, I acknowledge my responsibility and that I, you know, should have been more on top of it and making sure the payment was coming out because their system is crap. But they didn't do anything to help me in this process at all. No, again, no phone call, no notification at all. So what that gentleman told me was that he completely agreed that I should be reinstated with my coverage. He also let me know that the woman who put in the request improperly. She did it through the wrong channels. I don't know what exactly that means. To me, it means something like she filled out form A25X and she should have filled out form A26X. You know what I mean? Some bureaucratic, you know, mess that she did incorrectly. So again, if I had just let them tell me that, I would have lost my coverage. But again, I pushed through. I was like, please, is there anything we can do? So he created a new request for them to reinstate my coverage through the proper channels, and he read out to me the whole form that he was filling out, and he basically wrote a paragraph on my behalf to send to the mystery finance people. And he read it back to me. She's pregnant, she's distressed, she's made every payment on time. This was our auto pay issue. She didn't receive notification. What can we do? And I asked him to add in the fact that, you know, I am more than willing to pay that missed September premium. You know, it should have been auto paid anyway. I have no problem paying it. He added that into the little paragraph of information, and I believe that that might have made all the difference because these people are money hungry grubbers. So I received a phone call that night. We're talking Friday night, like 9 p.m. from Health First. Normally, they're not giving you a call at that time for anything. But if they want to collect their premium, their missed premium payment, then they're going to make that call to you. I actually, even though I had my ringer on, I missed the call. And so I had tried to call back. I couldn't get through to a real person until Monday. I called back on Monday, and I received the same woman who I got the very, very first time. And I asked her what the status was for my coverage. She read me the same message that was a week old. That was old from her first attempt at sending the reinstatement, that no, they can't give me my coverage back. And I could hear that the language was exactly the same. So again, if I had just let her say that to me, then I would have believed there was nothing I could do and I couldn't get my coverage back. And believe me, at that point I was so frustrated. I was ready to do whatever it took to get insurance from another company. But I said to her, no, that sounds like what I was told a week ago, and we've put in another request since then. Do you have any information about that request? that's when she finds out what they probably tried to call and tell me on Friday was, yes, please just make that September payment and you will be reinstated. So at that point, I asked to speak to her supervisor, and she asked me, because I was going to make the payment over the phone, and I didn't want to make it with her. I didn't trust, she had already made a mistake in filing the claim. She had made a mistake in telling me what the initial issue was, and she made a mistake in giving me the most up-to-date information. So I asked to speak to a supervisor to make the payment with the supervisor because, I have to do as much as I can to make sure this actually works. She asked me why do I want to talk to a supervisor? And I just simply said, because of all the hassles we've had so far, I would just feel more comfortable making the payment, having your supervisor take the payment. When she put me through to the supervisor, I told him, the full reason that I asked to speak to him. I think he asked, or I might have explained it anyway because he's like, how could I help you? And I said, I asked to talk to you because, I frankly just don't trust making the payment with this other person who has been incompetent in 3 different ways. He also, that supervisor was very anxious to get the payment. Like, I had questions, how long will it take till I'm reinstated? Is my auto payment still working? I had other questions that I just wanted confirmed before I made that missed September payment. And he just kept going back to me making this damn payment. He was like, okay, will it be debit or credit? And I was feeling like, chill out, dude. You're going to get your precious $650. Like, just take care of me as a customer, That's why I get very aggravated with a company that has all the power and, the customer has no power at all. But then I made the payment, and within 24 hours, my insurance was reinstated. So at last, everything is okay. I will obviously be checking each and every month that they take the auto payment. And if I receive a bill, a medical bill for anything that occurred during the month of September, I am going to fight, and my insurance company is going to cover it. So that was my little debacle with insurance. But just like, having different emotions and having crazy hormones is all very normal and very common. I know having difficulties with insurance companies is very normal and very common. And I think this story took longer than I intended, but I actually also have stories about the front desk at my doctor's office making mistakes and being incompetent, and me having to push through what they're first telling me to actually get to the truth. But I think I'll save them for another time because it's not my intention to complain. Overall, my care has been really good. I'm very fortunate to be able to have, everything I need as far as care and coverage goes. So that's just my one little story, and we'll leave it at that. Now I'm going to talk about some of the physical changes that have occurred in my body during this 28 weeks of pregnancy, and the most up-to-date stuff that's happening will be the emphasis of what I'm saying. So some things in here may be TMI, but I feel like, what's the point in this video, if I'm not sharing like the real tea, right? So 1, my nipples have gotten quite dark. I'm half Latina descent, I'm half Puerto Rican, so they're always like kind of brownish in color, but now they are really getting like very dark, like very, very dark. And it's funny because my fiance is not always the most perceptive. Like, I could cut my hair, I could probably cut off like this much hair, he wouldn't notice. But when I told him, I was like, damn, my nipples are getting dark, he was like, oh yeah, I noticed. So I just thought that was kind of funny. If you don't know, it's completely normal and expected for your nipples to get darker during your pregnancy because it helps the baby see the nipple better. For the first, I want to say around 2 weeks of a newborn's life, they actually only see in black and white, which I didn't know until I, read about this stuff. But yeah, they only see in black and white, and so the contrast of that darker nipple helps the baby see the nipple. I also have had 1 yeast infection that I believe started, I first had it at maybe around the 20-week mark, and I took, after researching and asking my doctor if it was okay, I took Monistat, but I only took the one day. And unfortunately, it was after the fact that I read, I really should take a longer treatment to make sure that the yeast infection gets truly knocked out. It's very common to have yeast infections in pregnancy. So I took the one day and my symptoms did go away. A couple days after I took the one day treatment, I felt a lot better. There was no more discomfort. And I was like, maybe I got lucky and it knocked it out. But at 26 weeks, the yeast infection returned, and I'm pretty sure it was just the same one, finishing out. Like the Monistat one day didn't get it all. So I again consulted with my doctor, and they said to take the Monistat again. But this time I took the 7-day treatment, and while unpleasant, I believe it did completely knock out the yeast infection, so that's great. I do have a hemorrhoid, and to be completely honest with you guys, I've had hemorrhoids like maybe once or twice before ever being pregnant, maybe because of dehydration or whatever causes you to have hemorrhoids. But I do currently have a hemorrhoid, and it sucks. But I guess I'm kind of lucky in the sense that it's not very painful. I don't have any itching, but it's there. Tiredness is something I have been dealing with throughout this entire pregnancy, and it has been definitely kicking in over this past week. Even sitting in this computer chair that I'm sitting in, I get tired. When I was walking around helping my friends and family set up stuff for my baby shower, I was on my feet for maybe 2 to 3 hours, and I was exhausted at the end of it. And that really frustrated me because, one, I hate feeling useless. Like, I want to be helping, especially when people are celebrating me, which was something I had to accept and deal with. But it was great, super, super awesome time. But yeah, I was exhausted. My feet will swell, if I'm on them for any stretch of time. If I'm walking around, my feet are going to swell up and hurt. And I've been having growing pains in my belly area as my bump is finally like getting bigger and starting to pop, as they say. I'll feel like dull aches around my belly. Sometimes it almost feels like I ate something bad, but the pain is so spread out over my whole belly and so consistent that I was able to realize it's more of like a muscular growing pain. Heartburn has been a total B, and it's just getting worse and worse. I would say it started around the 26-week mark, and yeah, it's just getting worse and worse. I will wake up in the night, with the pains of heartburn, which leads me to this whole sleeping situation. So I have always been a person who can fall asleep easily, even during times of stress in my life, even, things that normally keep people up at night. I have just been fortunate enough that if my head hits the pillow, maybe in a tough time, it'll take me an extra 10-15 minutes, but I'm going to fall asleep. Now, not so much. I am finally at that stage in my pregnancy where, one, the physical difficulty in getting comfortable enough to fall asleep is there. I would normally sleep on my belly, so I'm at the point where I cannot do that anymore. I have my pregnancy pillow, which has been a huge help. I actually got my pregnancy pillow, which is too big for me to show you in this video, but I'm going to link it down below. And at first, when I first got it, I don't think I really needed it yet, because when I tried sleeping with it, it didn't work out for me. And I was thinking, it seems like this pregnancy pillow thing is not going to work out for me so well. But now, at 28 weeks, that pregnancy pillow is working. So, if you're at that stage, the pregnancy pillow, you're like, it's not helping me sleep. Who knows? Maybe in a couple of weeks, it'll help you out. In addition to like the physical difficulties in falling asleep, I am now overthinking at night. And it's crazy because it's stuff that doesn't bug me or that I'm not thinking about during the day, But once I put my head on the pillow, I just start overthinking totally random things. Like we had a toilet issue and I wanted to make sure the toilet was fixed. Obviously before I had all these guests come over for the baby shower, we had somebody come and they didn't fully repair it, but they like kind of jimmied it so it was working again. And at the time, I was okay with that. At the time, you know, I didn't say anything, even though I wanted it to be fully repaired. But then once I put my head on the pillow at night, I'm like going crazy in my head thinking about this freaking toilet situation. So I don't know what it is about the nighttime, like the quiet, and it's just you and your thoughts and your hormones, and you physically can't fall asleep, so your brain just keeps going. Something like that. But that is definitely happening to me. And anytime I get a nice stretch of like 4 or 5 hours sleep, I am so, so grateful. Lastly, for the physical stuff, I will just say that I have thrown up 3 to 4 times in total during this pregnancy, but pretty consistent nausea is something that I do deal with, more so in the mornings and occasionally in the evenings before bed. And the first time I actually went all the way and did throw up, I was already in my 2nd trimester. So I know that's not as common. I know normally it's in the 1st trimester that people are getting physically sick. But for me, the first time I threw up was in the 2nd trimester, and I threw up again somewhere in between, and then I actually threw up for either the 3rd or 4th time on the morning of my baby shower. And I think, you know, who knows why? It could be anything. I just happened to throw up a little bit of the coffee that I had drank, and that particular throw up, which was in the 28th week, I'm sorry, that was the most acidy, like burning, vomiting that I've ever done in my life. It wasn't a lot, but when it came up, I felt the burn through here very hard. So now I want to quickly talk about the products that have been saving me, that I've been loving, and then I want to give you guys a bump update and we'll be done with this long video. So, first, Tums, you are the real MVP. I keep one in the living room and I keep one by my bed because there are times I will wake up in the night with the heartburn very bad. My doctor said it's perfectly fine to take Tums. I don't want my body to get too used to it, so they're less effective. So I really do try to limit how many I take. And I don't take them within 4 hours of taking my prenatal vitamin because I read somewhere that the calcium can decrease the effectiveness or the absorption of the prenatal vitamin. So I don't take them around the same time. But these do stop your heartburn instantly. They say it goes to work in seconds, and it really does. This has really helped me a lot. I don't even know like how bad the pain would be if I didn't have the Tums on hand. This is the oil that I'm using for prevention of stretch marks. I haven't seen any come up yet, and I know it looks like this is brand new, but I've actually been using it quite a lot. But I guess because it's an oil, you only need so little, and you know, this bottle lasts you a super long time. I keep it by my bedside, and I put on a little bit just before I fall asleep. I slather it all over my belly and my hips, and I want to start putting some on my inner thighs, you know, just to do it. I love the smell of it. It's like a nice nutty oil smell, and I find that it absorbs really fast, especially for an oil, into the skin, so you're not left feeling very greasy for very long. So I think that that's great. I do also have the Burt's Bees Mama Butter Belly Cream or whatever it is, but I decided to show you guys this one because I really, of the two, prefer this. Another thing to mention is my pregnancy pillow. Again, it's really big to show you in the video, but I will link the exact version of it down below. As a belly sleeper, I found that the pregnancy pillow has helped me a lot to be sleeping more on my side, but still have that sensation of sleeping on my belly. So it feels the same. I'm able to fall asleep a little bit easier. And I'll kind of like hug the pillow. I'll keep one leg flat on the bed still, but my other leg will be propped up on top of the pillow so that I'm not putting all of the pressure on my belly anymore. And that has been working, quite well for me. I do want to show you guys these flats. So at this stage in my pregnancy, I'm not wearing heels. I'm completely over it. But I think I wore these flats on my baby shower, for example, and they are pretty and glittery. So, you kind of get that cute, fancy effect, but they're very comfortable. I haven't gotten any blisters wearing these. And they were very inexpensive on Amazon, and they're different colors. I think they do a rose gold, a gold. So I will link these down below. Next up, this massager has been really, really nice. So I don't have it plugged in. There's no plug near me to give you a full-on demo of it. But you can sort of see the balls that are in here, and the balls will rotate around in different, ways. They'll do a wave, they'll do more of a pulse, and you can change the setting on by pressing a button, or you can just have it cycle through all the different settings. I think it runs for 20 minutes automatically before it turns off. And first thing I'm going to say, nothing beats the human hand, in my opinion, okay? That's my favorite type of massage to get, is one from somebody else. But in a pinch, this has been very helpful, soothing my lower back pain. And you just prop it like this behind your lower back and sit in the chair. It comes with this strap, which I do find when I put the strap around my waist, it helps keep this more in place and right where you want, wherever you want it to go. If you want it in your lower back, you can put it around the back of your neck. And for a real treat, put it down on the floor and then lay your feet on top of it. That's my favorite. If nobody is around, i.e. if my fiance is not around for me to ask him for a foot rub, this works really well in his place. And it will heat up as well if you push the button to heat it up. So, and I believe this was around $30 on Amazon. It will be linked with everything else that I possibly can down below. Please check out those links. This has been a huge help to me. During the 24-week mark, I struggled with a lot of lower back pain. I think it was the beginning of my muscles, really preparing to pop. It was my first growth spurt probably. So this is just a plain old heating pad, and it helped a lot. I would start it on the medium setting, and then for the final couple minutes, I would sit with it for maybe at most 15 to 20 minutes. For the last couple of minutes, I would pop it up to the high setting. It's okay absolutely fine to use a heating pad. The one thing you don't want to happen is you don't want your body's core temperature to rise. That's what could be damaging for the baby. So if you're starting at the medium and then you kick it up to high gear for a minute or two, it's not going to change your core body temperature. You'll be perfectly fine. You'll just get that nice soothing heat relief to your lower back. I'm pretty certain that when I go into labor, I'm going to have a lot of lower back pain because that's where I've always felt my period cramps. That's where I'm feeling things now. So I think the lower back pain is what I'm in for come pregnancy. So now I'm just going to show you guys my 28-week bump. I am wearing this t-shirt from the brand Mamalicious, which I got from ASOS. It's my favorite maternity t-shirt so far. And my leggings are from New Look, also on ASOS. So I'll just show you with the shirt and the leggings on from the side. Again, this is 28 weeks. Show you the front. There's the other side. So I know it's not the biggest bump. Everyone just carries so differently. And this is my first pregnancy. I know if I have another baby, it's more likely my bump will get bigger. I'll just show you the back so you guys can see. I don't know how pregnant I look from the back, but if you're curious if I look pregnant from... So my camera cut out, so I'm just refilming this with a new battery just in case I miss anything. So here is my bump from the side, and the front. What I don't like is when you see this seam of the leggings. I don't like that. So I may get some under the bump leggings, but in general, I think I'm more of an over the bump person because I love my pants high-waisted in general. So here's the back. I don't know how pregnant I look from the back, but if you're curious, there it is. So now I'll there's the leggings up over the bump, and then I'll just bring them down. So I know, like I said, not the biggest bump, but it's my bump and I love it, and the baby is a healthy size. She hasn't been measured since, let me think. She hasn't been measured since around 24 weeks, but she was just under 1.5 pounds there, so her growth is completely on track. I'm just carrying her more towards the back, like I feel her back there. A lot of movement. She's moving all day long. I felt my first movement at like exactly 14 weeks. I got that fluttering, like flipping feeling, but now I'm feeling kicks, and you can see my belly like vibrate when she's moving around. I think she prefers my right side. Like this is the firmest right here. She's like right here. I don't know which exact body part first I'm feeling, but it's very firm right there. Here it's like a little bit softer. So my belly button has not popped out yet. I don't know if it will. I could tell the bottom, sorry, it's like gross. I'm like picking my belly button, I'm so sorry. But like I could tell the bottom of my belly button is starting to come closer and closer up. So maybe by the end it'll fully pop. I'm not sure. We'll find out together. I do want to do one of these videos every single week now up until the end, because it's like go time. I don't really have much of a linea negra here, I don't think. But what you're seeing is like a little treasure trail, because real life, I haven't shaved that. So where I do notice myself popping out the most is like right up here actually. Because normally, even though I'm not a skinny person like ever by any means, normally you would normally see like 1 or 2 like little rib indentations right there where my ribs are. But that's like completely popped out. So I'm popping more here than like right here. But that's my belly at 28 weeks. Enough of that. It is comfortable actually with the leggings underneath too. But then you see my belly button. I don't know. I guess no matter what, you're going to see something through this shirt. So that is my update. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know it is going to be such a long one, but since we're all caught up with everything, I will be able to have shorter updates for, excuse me, there was a burp that just came out. You do burp more. I've been burping so much more. Yeah, every other update should be shorter. I still want to give a lot of information. I want to talk about everything, but you know, without having to do so much backstory, things should be a lot shorter going from here on out. And I'm just really, really excited to be having a baby. It's a baby girl, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. Yeah, we just can't be more excited. Her nursery is almost done. I will do a nursery tour, and I want to do a hospital bag tour you know, show you what I'm packing in my hospital bag. In addition to these weekly updates and any other questions you might have, you know, please share your experiences, share how you're doing down below. I would love to hear from you. Any tips, any thoughts you might have for me, I would love to hear them. I do just ask that we keep it a positive, happy place down there. There's so many opportunities for things with pregnancy to become controversial, but at the end of the day, pretty much every mom-to-be just wants the best for their baby, and so that's the place that I'm coming from, and that's just the place where I ask everybody else to be coming from too, and we just love and support one another. So thank you again so much for watching. I will be with you next week, and I hope you have a fantastic day and a fantastic week. Bye.